Howdy folks, good afternoon. How are we all doing today? This is the fourth video from today, but this time I'm over at the Manasota Scrub Preserve. Just wanted to incorporate this preserve during my day off just because I know that this place isn't too far from where I live and I haven't been here for a hot minute. So as part of this video, what I want to point out is a particular flower that I saw even when I was over at the Mayaca State Forest this morning, and also here as well. So without further ado, let's get into this plant. So you may notice this particular flower right here that I'm pointing out. Some of you may already know what this is, but for those of you who don't, this is something called Redroot, also known as Bloodroot. It goes by a couple of different names. But what's neat about this particular plant is it's not only native to Florida, but you can also find it in parts of the East Coast and even the Midwest. And I think it falls under the genus of Lachnanthes, to be specific. Now, with that being said, this might be a different type of bloodroot than what I've seen up in Ohio, but they do still have a similar relation to each other. But what's neat about the plant is when you look towards the top, where the actual flowers are, you may notice that they appear in individual clusters, as it were. Now, typically, as part of their clusters, they'll produce these yellow petals. Oftentimes, those are like your inner flowers, but then the outer flowers, or petals, they kind of show like these white and hairy ones, as you can tell. But yes, it does have a very hairy texture, even along the stem as well. So you may be wondering, like, why does it really have the name of bloodroot? Well, you can't really see it along the stem or the flowers. You have to actually go into the roots. Now, I want to avoid having to pick these flowers, so I'm just going to let them be. But the thing for us to know why it's called such is the fact that when you look at the roots, it does have a bit of a orange-red appearance. And essentially, if you squeeze it, it reminds you of looking at blood. And hence, that's why it has that name of bloodroot. Now, it's been known that this plant has been used medicinally, especially from the Cherokee nation of Native Americans. And apparently, the plant has been well known to actually have use in helping with various cancers, or spitting blood, and even acting as an antibiotic, so helping to ward off any infections. So it's actually an excellent plant for use. But typically, as you can tell, it grows probably, well, just as a reference, it's about up at my waist, just about. So you figure about 3 or so feet. And I think they are just starting to bloom. Because typically now, with it being in the fall, that's where we'll start to see some other types of flowers bloom. A great example could include asters. That's one of the classifications that I've discussed in other previous videos. But today's just been a very neat day, because earlier this morning I was actually with Sean Patton, who owns a local business in Florida called Stalking Savvy. Be sure to check out my videos from earlier today, because he was with me and he actually helped me learn a bit more of the native flora found in the state. So it's quite neat just to hear from individuals who have been in the state a bit longer and have had more time to basically develop knowledge. See, it's one thing of memorization, but it's separate when you actually have knowledge. Because memorization is just basically remembering facts. But when you have knowledge, mates, that is when you can actually start applying particular solutions. So, like, say, I have an issue with spitting blood, right? This is just an example, you guys. I can technically use that plant as like a decoction to help alleviate that type of problem, as it, in a way, acts as an antibiotic. Or even right next to me, you've got the muscadine. These oftentimes will produce these little berries that are actually indeed edible. However, though, I think it's already past that time. But the muscadine is that whole vine plant, as you can tell. Now, most of it has likely been foraged already by our wildlife. But that knowledge that I'm talking about, if I'm ever in a situation of being in a survival situation, I know that I can eat the berries off of that plant, if absolutely necessary. But Manasota Scrub Preserve, you mostly have a chance to really see a bit of Scrub Hammock, which is sort of like that transition between looking at scrublands and a hardwood hammock. Scrub Hammock kind of falls right in between both of those habitats. So, because you can kind of see what's most common with scrublands are saw palmettos, such as this one, or even our muscadine. But then you're also starting to see more of the slash pines, and I just walked past one, a sand live oak. So that's essentially the type of habitat that we are having a glance at. But yes, just remember that, mates. There is indeed a difference between just memorizing things and knowledge. Knowledge as you apply to what you already know. So, alright, you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, learning more about the bloodroot and also the type of habitat that you can find at Manasota Scrub Preserve near Englewood. So, please check out my videos from earlier today when I was with Sean. He's a smart cookie, and he's just a few years older than I am, and he really knows his stuff when it comes to just habitat restoration, botany, wildlife, anything you can think of. He's spot on. He knows his stuff. So it's admirable to see similar people like myself applying their knowledge to others, whether it be other scientists or even the general public. So, enjoy your wacky Wednesday, and once again, journey on a journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.